Hi, this is Marissa, and welcome back as we talk about debt and repayment in our 4th episode of FinTips, sponsored by First Ontario Credit Union. Dave Skirman is with us again today, and if you've been tuning in, you'll know that Dave has been a great help in giving us some tips on how to manage our personal finances. Dave is from First Ontario Credit Union, a local credit union in the Niagara region and across Southern Ontario. You might know him from CHCH Morning Live, where he provides financial advice on Finance Fridays. Hi, Dave. The last time we chatted, there was a lot of talk about your credit report and how important having a good credit score is. Today, I'd like to talk about debt, particularly as a student and how we go about managing our debt.
Absolutely. Well, we talked, remember back in the first couple of segments about good debt and student loan being good debt because it's really an investment in yourself. And it's helping you better yourself so you can have a career and make more money. So student loan is good debt. And most students, as we all know, have a combination of financing their education through money they might earn in a summer job. Some might have a part-time job while they're going to school. Sometimes our parents can help us out a little bit. And we also have to borrow a little bit sometimes. And that's a student loan. In Ontario, it's through the Ontario Student Assistance Program, OSAP, which is really a combination between the federal and provincial governments because there's a federal part of it and a provincial part of it. So it's fine to get a student loan. It's actually, don't be embarrassed about a student loan. It's really important to have it. But at some point, you're going to graduate and you got to pay it back. So, it's great to, borrow to get your education. But then it is time to think about, getting that debt repaid, as you talked about.
Definitely. Now, I'm really close to having to repay my debt. How do I even go about tackling this?
Well, if you go back to segment 1, we talked about budgeting. It's really, everything really comes back to budgeting when you talk about personal finance, and that's planning. So ensure that you start to plan for your income and your expenses. And that's just, again, going back to that simple budgeting. So when you do graduate, you have to start to look at what are the expenses that I'm going to have to live after graduation. You do have a 6-month grace period after you graduate in which you do not have to make payments. Now again, you've got the federal part of your student loan and the Ontario part of your student loan. The federal portion, they don't charge you interest for those first 6 months. The Ontario part does charge you interest on the first 6 months. So if you can start repaying a little bit earlier, then that's going to save you a little bit of interest. But if not, don't worry about it. You've still got that 6-month grace period. And then once that period's over, you've got to start making the payments.
Is there anything else I should know?
Yeah, the federal government, once the pandemic hit, did provide some assistance to students, as students were affected, like all of us were, but students particularly were hit hard with lack of jobs and many other areas. So the federal government did reduce the interest to 0, and that's going to on the federal portion of the student loan, and it's going to remain at 0 until the end of March in 2023.
Oh, that's exciting.
So that's very nice. It's going to save you a little bit of interest. You still have to make your payments if you graduate, but at least that saves you a little bit of interest. You can also extend that grace period by applying. If there's something you haven't started work yet, you can't find a job, other things have come up financially, then don't just sit there and not do anything about it. Apply for an extension to that grace period before you have to make your payments, and they'll certainly take a look at that. Also, if you own a new business in Ontario, you can get that grace period extended as well.
Oh,
so
wow.
that's a little bit of incentive for people graduating. They may not have a job and want to start a business, or just have that entrepreneurial spirit that you want to start a business. Then the Ontario government wants to promote that, so they'll give you a little further extension on your payments. Also, if you work or volunteer for a nonprofit, you can get an extension on that as well. So again, There's some eligibility on that. Just go into the site and take a look at what those eligibility requirements are. But again, it's a promotion for the government to have people consider working or volunteering for nonprofit type organizations.
Wow, these are great things to know. So where do students start to make payments?
Well, the National Student Loan Service Center, which you'd probably know a little bit about as you have an account as you set up your student loans, they're basically the banker for student loans. That's a national agency of the federal government. So again, we talked about student loans having an OSAP portion and a federal government portion. Well, the federal government, through the National Student Loan Service Center, is that banker. So that's where you're going to make your payments. You can log into your account. You can look at your loan balances. You can look at the loan disbursements that you've had over your time at school. You can update your banking information of your banking account where your payments are going to come out of. Contact information, should you move, you want to keep that information up to date. And also that's where you can make payment arrangements. The other thing that will give you, and a lot of students don't know this, is you can get a statement for income taxes on there because students can claim the interest that you pay on student loans against your income tax. Now, another important tip is you don't have to claim it right off the bat. You can carry that forward for up to 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And why is that important? Because a lot of students, when they come out of school, their first job is at maybe a little bit lower salary and income than they're going to make later on.
Definitely.
So, when you're making lower money, it means you're paying lower taxes. So it may not be worthwhile to claim that credit when you're not paying a whole lot of taxes. In a lot of cases, it's better to actually carry those forward, and you can use up to 5 years of carry forward. And then when you're making more money and paying more taxes, then you can make that claim and get a bigger tax refund.
Wow, that's great information. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Now, if I do have OSAP, how do I know when I need to start making my payments or repayment?
Yeah, well, within that 6-month grace period, you will receive contact from the Student Loan Center. It's one of those emails that you're going to probably not want to open, but you have to. Because you do have to start paying it back. So they're going to give you information there on the number of payments that you have to make, the amount of your payments, when they start, the interest rate, and the interest rate's a little different. The federal government charges, I believe, prime. So when you're watching the Bank of Canada, when they talk about prime rates, it's something you're probably going to want to pay attention to a little bit because when prime rate goes up or down, the interest rate on your student loan goes up or down.
Okay.
So the federal portion of your loan is at prime. The Ontario, the OSAP portion of your line is at prime +1. Still very good rates. So the National Student Loan Service Center, they will give you this information. The payback is generally about 9.5 years on average. You can apply, if you're not making enough money at the point in time or you haven't got a job yet, you can apply, again, as I talked about, to extend that grace period, or you can also apply to extend the repayment period for up to 14.5 years.
Wow.
Now that will lower your payments, so that's the good news. Bad news is you're going to pay more interest and you're going to have the debt longer. So again, it's a little bit of maybe short-term pain for long-term gain, but pay as much as you can on it. You still have to live and you still have to have pay your other living expenses, obviously, but make sure you're paying as much as you can because it's going to reduce the interest overall that you pay. And important, as we talked about earlier on credit scores, is make those payments on time because that's going to positively affect your credit score.
Thanks, Dave. We've come back full circle on the importance of having a good credit score. Now, this is a lot of great information as some of us approach graduation and are moving into our chosen careers.
Absolutely, Marissa, and I know this is the last segment of this season, and graduation's coming up for you.
It is.
So congratulations.
Thank you
the end
so
of
much.
4 years of hard work, and we're looking forward to watching your credit score climb and see you start your career.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm going to be starting my repayments for my loan, so lots of good information this segment. Now, as always, I encourage everyone, if you have any personal finance questions, you can reach out directly to Dave at financefriday@firstontario.com or through Twitter anytime at finance_Friday.